Welcome to the More Than This podcast, where we dive into conversations with good friends to bring us out of our stress, away from our to-dos, and out of our head. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. It's great to have you. Make sure to subscribe and leave us a review to help others find out about the show. With that out of the way,
Wait. One last thing. If you're interested in supporting the show, please consider becoming a patron. You'll play an active role in making sure the content we produce continues to improve. Plus, you'll unlock some bonus content. Visit patreon.com/downwiththis. Now that that's out of the way, let's jump right in. Was I your boss, technically?
No, you were lower.
Dang it.
I barely even can see you to a coworker.
I was hoping to trick you into saying yes right now, just so casually. But no, I wasn't her boss. I was the part-time designer by the time that you were the student designer. So I mean, technically,
you had a little seniority
over
me.
I had seniority, but not your boss. Now, if anything, you were way smarter than I was. But now, so it's cool because now you graduated.
Mm-hmm.
So how's that?
Life's been really good. I know that 2020 has been kind of a crapshoot for most folks out there, but I think it's kind of been a special year for me. I graduated from college. I'm the last one in my family to officially graduate, and so we kind of reached our American dream thing, coming to America. But then I also landed a full-time job before I even graduated, so I didn't really have to search for a job after I graduated.
It helps, right?
Yeah, that was really nice. But yeah, it's kind of crazy because now I have so much time on my hands and I have so many projects to work on, and I have a list of it that I need to get through.
So when we met, I feel like that was one of the cool things about you, that you so it's funny. So you were doing you started out as a biology major, right?
Chemistry major.
Then you switched to graphic design, which is completely different, obviously. Mm-hmm. But then you also have, you're really good at website design and actual coding and stuff like that. So I just thought it was kind of cool because I don't know. And then you always have either screen printing, you do patchwork, you do or is that a new thing? You just kind of dug around in patchwork?
Yeah, I got an embroidery machine.
That's it, yeah.
And I'm wanting to do some cool stuff with it.
A risograph, you got into that.
I got a kiln recently too.
Oh, really?
Yes. So I want to do some ceramic stuff at home, but also create a knockoff of Ceramica.
Huh.
So I'm going to start creating my own little work and then invite people to come over and paint it. And then go through that whole thing and whatnot.
How do you have time? Has it changed? Because obviously while you were in college, it was kind of different. You could explore those different things.
It's funny that you mentioned that because I was actually writing about this the other day for my
you
own
write
thing.
Too? Oh,
no,
there you go.
I like to jot things down on what I'm working on, goals I have, just so that I have not a sense of purpose, but more of something to work towards.
Mm-hmm.
And so yesterday I was writing this down that I don't know how I have this time. It was something that I know that I did not struggle with when I was in school, even though you should have.
Yeah.
I remember going to class and stuff and telling my friends that I'm working on this really cool stuff, and they're like, how do you have time for it?
Yeah.
And I basically just told them that every week I devote 1 hour at least to something that I want to work on myself, and that's not class related.
So good.
And so that kind of keeps me sane and keep my creative outlet open. So and just to have an hour to devote to myself and not anyone else. And I think that's kind of kept me going. But once I graduated, I imagined that I'd have so much time on my hands to be able to work on things, but even though I don't have that same motivation anymore because I keep pushing it off, knowing that I'm going to have time to work on these things. And I think that was kind of detrimental because now I don't have a goal to work towards. And I'm I'll do it tomorrow. And then I don't.
Something always comes up, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have that hour of creativity time anymore. I'm trying to bring that back in my life.
Man, no, that's gotta be rough. So what happened to like all of the things? Because I remember you have like the time that I visited your house, you have like a space for your
It's
craft.
grown.
Has it? Oh my gosh.
So another thing that was on my list was create like a nice little work area in my craft room, which I didn't have before. So then I actually took apart my whole closet, and then I built my own little table in there, so I can have
That's cool.
all of my embroidery machines out and all of my sewing machines and like accessories and stuff out.
Yeah.
And have like actual space devoted to it. So it's only grown since last time, and everything's been rearranged. I have like a little nook for all my photography stuff. I have a nook for risograph stuff. I have a nook for all my yarn work and sewing stuff.
Right, because you do that too. So Lan is wearing a beanie right now. Did you make that beanie?
Yes. Yeah. That's actually one of my first big crafts that I got into was yarn work and crocheting specifically. And yeah, I just do a lot of it, and it's kind of my way of being able to multitask. I watch TV, Netflix, whatever, and then I sit and I crochet on the side, and it's calming and relaxing.
Man, no, I'm with the people that ask like how you have all would you consider yourself a perfectionist?
Depends on what I'm working on. Most things I am, especially when it comes to like coding and stuff. I learned from the master.
I mean, you kind of have to, right? With coding, if you miss an apostrophe, everything is like,
But not even that though. I think so like I learned computer, like I got my minor in computer science while going to school, but throughout that, every time I struggled, my husband would always say like, Lan, that's like the most inefficient way of doing things. And so then I'd have to rework everything to make it as efficient as possible, like with the least amount of lines possible. And so when it comes to like coding, like it has to be extremely efficient and perfect. But I feel like something that I love about the risograph is that it's completely imperfect.
So you have that balance, kind of like you have the crafts that you do kind of are that outlet where you don't have to have that perfection. Sometimes is that how? Yeah, man, that makes sense. So your husband is he his title's like a developer?
He's a software developer.
Yeah.
Software. I don't know. He's a programmer.
Yeah, he does stuff with computers. No, that's cool because you're right. Like I remember when I first met you guys, I thought it was so cool because because graphic design and kind of coding kind of go hand in hand almost, like, or it's nice when they work together. And I feel like you both were, I was like, oh my gosh, they're so cool.
We're the power couple.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, basically. I was like, man, cool. We went to Portland.
Yes, that was what, a year ago? A year and a half ago.
Yeah, that was a little bit more. How was that, Lanh?
Our experience over there?
Yeah.
No, it was great. I remember we went to one place. I think it was called Work & Co.
Yeah, my dream place.
Yes, that's where we found your dream place. But like, I think that was one of the more eye-opening things there, just the rapid prototyping that we learned. But no, that was such a great experience. Every single time I go, I learn something new.
Yeah, we went to, so we stayed, so I don't travel much. I'm kind of sheltered. When we stayed at an
it was a hostel.
It was a hostel, right?
And then we were afraid that we'd get stabbed.
Yeah, because it was a little on the awkward side. Yeah. We walked in and there was like a person grilling or something, or was it when we were leaving?
Oh yeah,
eventually there was
outside.
Just grilling, having the time of his life. But and this was in like Portland, in the Portland area. Again, for me, everything was just a culture shock because I'm usually in my own little safety net here. But yeah, the hostel, I remember like you were like, even like the bathroom was a little bit weird.
It was a little sketchy. I didn't realize it was a hostel.
Yeah, I mean, and then the second place, our coworker and friend, he had rented, or like, I don't know if you helped him find a place where all of us could stay, and it was like a house that we had to ourselves for the rest of the meeting, so that was good. But man, even like those little experiences, I was like, land.
Where is she?
Like, where are we? Like, type of thing. No, but it was great. We found out that I'm a little lactose intolerant in
the worst way possible.
Trip. Yeah, no. Oh man, that was literally the worst. The worst. I think the worst experience that I had on the trip, because I was like, I do not like. I'm like, this is land. I'm like, we're friends, but I don't think we're like on
we're
that.
not there yet.
Yeah, I was like, please, stomach, just hold on for a little bit longer.
It was like, land pullover.
Yeah, I was like, I don't like, and you did. Like, we were like driving and you were like looking for places to turn into, but there was like nothing. And I was like, man, I don't think this is gonna end up. But like, so we just like, was it a Target or like was just like a random place that we just like pulled in, and I just like
ran.
And I was like, well, I'm lactose intolerant a little bit. Now I know. Yep.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny.
Oh man. So designy wise, you're also very designy. How would you describe your particular style?
Oh my gosh. I honestly don't really have a style. It's whatever inspires
it's like
me.
dead silence. I'll put in like a shocked crowd. Like
no, it's just whatever I see that inspires me right then and there, I guess.
Yeah.
A lot of times it just comes. I really don't know what.
Oh,
like,
I'm right there with you. I think, I mean, from my perspective, I feel like once you have like a certain style or aesthetic, that has to come with time. But I feel like for me, speaking for myself, I put so much pressure on myself, especially graduating, that I was like, oh my gosh, like, what is my thing? I was like looking for a specific thing that would like single me out as a designer. But I'm like, I don't think that you're supposed to necessarily search for it. I think it just comes over time as you develop your skills.
And like, I guess for me, it's so hard to choose what I'm really into because I'm into so many different things. And I think that kind of comes off with like me having a kiln, a risograph, like sewing machine. I love so many different kind of crafts and arts and processes out there that it's so hard for me to be able to just choose one and kind of have that define me.
Yeah.
I think that's something that like kind of puts me apart from like some of my peers and stuff too, because I am willing to try different things and like find processes that I really like. And I think for me it comes down to like hand process stuff. Like I love tangible things that I can hold, that I can touch, feel.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta say, I feel like in that respect we're a tiny bit different. I'm very much more of I don't even know how I would describe it, but you know what I mean? Like, so for me, hand process was always kind of intimidating for me, obviously because of my lack of coordination. So I always like avoided it like the plague. I'm like, so anything like, I could do like screen printing and stuff just fine, but I'm like, man, like I remember once in class we had to make paper from scratch. And I don't know, it was just like anything that had to do with like, I'm not crafty. And a lot of people kind of assume that if you're a designer that you're a crafty person by nature. And I was like, no, I'm like, I'm not crafty at all. I'm more of a like just.
Well, that's how it is with a lot of graphic designers too. It's that people think that you can just draw really well just because you are an art major or that you're in graphic design, but those things translate a lot differently than like an actual illustrator with pen and pencil versus a graphic designer with their mouse.
A pen and pencil, but not as much. Yeah, no, I remember specifically we were, because in college we had to take like a drawing, like several drawing classes, and I remember one girl in my class, she was a graphic design student too, and she was like, oh man, she was feeling bad because she was like, I can't draw. And at the time I was like, oh. I was like, oh. But then once you get into the program, like, you're right, you don't need to be like an amazing artist. As long as you can thumbnail just really quick sketches to give somebody an idea or something like that, that's pretty much all you need. So yeah, I mean, for all you non-drawers out there that want to
there's
be
still
designers,
hope.
yeah. But so if you had to, I already kind of know the answer, But if you so jokes on you, jokes on everybody. No, so you have to choose between your work designing and then or developing or doing more of that type of work. What would you go with and why?
It's funny because you asked that, but I'm still not going to give you the answer you want because
Dang it.
I
Never mind.
something that I'm working towards is becoming like a UX designer and then also a front end developer. And so I think like it's
You need
mixed.
both.
You need both.
You need both.
And so for me, I tend to kind of gravitate towards designing a lot more because I mean that's my area. That's what I studied and like can do things very well in. But I don't know, like it's honestly just a mix of both. And I think that that's kind of why I went to school with a minor in computer science and graphic design, because I kind of already had a feeling that that's what I wanted to work towards. Yeah. And so I don't know.
No,
both.
I mean, I didn't mean to sound like I was pressuring you. But no, I definitely feel like that's one of your strengths. Like, I feel like I always tell you. I'm like, oh man, Lan's so cool.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, and now like you're like you manage people like in your job. Like
I could just tell people boss. That they suck.
Yeah,
and then I feel
do it
justified.
over and do it right.
It's so cool having this power at such a young age.
Yeah, I mean, don't let it go to your head, Lan.
I've already done this for years, so it was a natural.
Remember humility, Lan. You're gonna be like in a couple of years, you're not even just gonna like talk to me. You're just gonna like critique my work and be like, oh, he doesn't deserve my my friendship.
No, it's funny because I kept on thinking the more that you're doing your your movies and stuff, you're gonna forget your friends and I've
literally done one.
I know, but that's how it happens, Miguel.
It starts with one.
It starts with one, and then you can't go back.
Two.
And then I'm like, he's gonna forget his friends once he gets all famous.
Oh no, I don't think that's gonna happen. But yeah, thank you. No, it's good. I feel like you would really like kind of that side of, because the from what I experienced like in making the movie, what I thought was cool other than acting obviously was that it kind of has everything. Like it has like a whole production side behind the scenes, and I just thought that was like the coolest thing. And even like the advertising for it on the movie, right? Like I didn't get to work on it. I was like, dang. I was like, I am a graphic design. And no, I'm just kidding. No, but they had like the poster that they did for the movie and stuff like that. So I love that it kind of just blended in a way like everything, and I was just like, man, I was like, this is cool. Like seeing everything work together, it's just really cool for me. So, man, so what do you think? The future, like, you kind of already said awesome UX UI designer. But like, what are you thinking as far as like projects, like for like your personal
personal projects?
Yeah.
So I know that about a year ago we talked about this.
Oh yeah. We didn't get we were having breakfast earlier, but we didn't get to talk about this.
Yeah. So it actually has to come up. It came up when I was writing in my little thingy about like my goals or things that I want to do, and it made me think that once I had gotten out of college, I didn't have that like 1 hour set aside every single week to work on my own personal projects. And I wonder if all the other people that I graduated with or years before have that same experience and thoughts as well. And I'm like, you know what? Like maybe we should do this creative couch thing.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we first came up with the idea. It was because you were the president of a design club your senior year. So we were thinking of ideas that you could really like expand that and like,
and create like a community
cool ideas with it. So yeah, I'm totally down for it. Like I don't know what it is about me, Lam, but I'm always like, and you know me, like I'm always like in 100 different areas, and I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, but. I mean, so far it's working out, I guess.
Yeah, I think it'd be pretty cool to get like the community together and kind of foster an area for being creative. And I know that some of us don't really have that, especially if you're stuck inside all day or you don't have like the means or the materials in order to do it, or just like the right contacts. Like maybe a YouTube video isn't enough to learn that.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, I totally be down. I honestly forgot what we were thinking. I'm gonna have to look at I know we had a name for it already, and yeah, so, I mean, man.
Not
yeah,
to totally plug this. I mean, it's not even a real thing yet.
Keep an eye out for the newest business by Lan, Russell, and me. Yeah, it's gonna be good.
But yeah, and like now that it's kind of cool that now I have all these, neat little toys at home, and a big place to be able to host and stuff.
Yeah.
I think it'd be kind of cool to get people in the community together and like learn how to crochet.
Yeah.
Learn.
Oh yeah, that's what it was. It was yeah.
And so like I was thinking like every single month we can have like a different topic or a different skill to learn.
I think that would be great. And I think what I like, I think what makes us a good team is that like you're obviously very creative. Like a lot more than I am, I would say.
No.
Like always thinking outside. Was that a sarcastic no? Or
they can't tell.
You're like no, and I'm more of a like kind of like a businessy type of like
the guy that does it.
Yeah, like the businessy type of person. So I think that's why we balance each other out so well. But yeah, I mean, keep an eye out for that. We won't say the name yet. Have we already said?
We already said it like 5 times.
We already said Creative Couch.
Yeah.
Creative Couch. Keep an eye out for that. Trademarked. I'm just kidding. I don't do that. But no, that'll be fun. I'm totally down for it. I think. Well, I mean, with the Rona though.
I know, that's why I'm thinking like very small groups. Like,
oh right, like
yeah, like not
following
like
CDC guidelines. Okay.
Following CDC guidelines for Idaho. But yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool to do. But that's kind of my next big project that I'm seriously looking at. As well as some other personal stuff that
you're not ready to.
No, I am. It's not a legit thing yet, but
you're like, I'll come back on here when I'm ready to.
No, I'm doing a food stall.
A food stall?
Yeah.
What? So I don't know if it's just because I don't know what that word means, but what's a food stall?
Well, it's kind of like a little vendor that like sells food
really?
out of a cart.
Okay.
And I've been looking into it, getting things ready.
Did you post about that already?
No, not yet.
Not yet? I don't know why, but
I've probably talked about it before offhandedly. Like, once I graduate, I'm going to do this.
You kind of just threw it out there. I think you did. You kind of just threw it out there, but it was kind of like, it
kind of gives me some sort of like accountability where I'm like, if I mention it to someone, then like I actually have to do it because then I'd make a fool of myself and I'm lying.
Is it going to be Vietnamese food?
Yeah. So I make some pretty bomb egg rolls. And it's kind of like a family recipe thing. And it's something that I wanted to do and people have encouraged me to do. Mm-hmm. And now that I'm out of school, I'm like, you know what? I could probably sell these on like Fridays and Saturdays.
Oh man, yeah.
And like not make it like a really big deal, but just to have it there and then maybe some returning customers.
I mean, obviously, apparently you're not busy enough, so I mean, you could always use some of the.
I don't know. I always just want to work on something new, and it's hard.
I'm the exact same way. Yeah.
Like when you think of like, oh, like this would be really cool. Like it's kind of the same thing with art, where I'm like, oh, I really like this. I'm like, I'm gonna keep on doing this, and then you find something new within a week, and you're just like, I barely finished this first one, or did I like? I barely even started.
Yeah.
And then you have something new, but this has been consistently in my back pocket for a while where I'm like, I just gotta get this done.
I think that would be awesome because, and I don't know if I'm just not aware, but is there like there's no, there's not a big Vietnamese, presence here. But that would make it cool because even places to eat Vietnamese things, I don't know, maybe I just haven't tried any myself. And
there's a lot of pho places around here.
Oh yeah,
but for Vietnamese food, there like authentic Vietnamese food, there just isn't as much as I wanted. We do have a lot of Vietnamese people in our community, but it's. In the end, it's still pretty small just because, it's Idaho. Yeah. And Boise specifically. But, yeah, it's something that I want to promote a little bit more here in a white community, I guess.
Yeah.
Not to bring up the whole, racial part of it. But it's so white here. And, so all the food that they do make, it's tailored, to Americans. And so they Americanize it. And then you lose that authenticity.
Oh, totally. No, I get that. yeah, I mean, obviously with Mexican food here,
Yeah.
but yeah, that'll be good though. I think that's why it would be a big like it would be success. I mean, not to like.
Hopefully.
Let me knock on wood. I don't want to jinx you, but yeah,
I'll bring you
you're
a
pretty much
taste.
you're pretty much gonna be a millionaire. I can already tell. No, but yeah, that'll be good. Yeah, see, I'm telling you, so freaking creative. And then
I don't even know that's creative. That's just like me trying to make money on the side easily.
But then you would like design your
yeah, I actually
everything.
I have some branding done for it. So
Do you really?
It's becoming a legit thing where I'm like, you know, if I spend some more time on it, then I actually have to make it a thing.
Yeah.
Or else I've just been wasting my
Your
time.
time. Yeah, you've been wasting your time. Yeah, no, that'll be great.
So yeah, I'm pretty
Oh,
excited
man.
for it. Like, I know I keep on plugging things, and I'm sorry, but
I
like,
know now.
these
now,
are just projects I
now
have.
it's gonna be official. Now you have to do the creative couch, and you have to do your Vietnamese egg rolls.
Yep.
That'll be so good. What oh my gosh, what do you think so were you born here?
No.
I forget.
No, I was born in Vietnam. Actually, we just had our 25th anniversary in America this past Monday.
Really? That's
Yeah.
a big one. Yeah.
So yeah, quarter century, but it's funny because I look back at these past 25 years, and I mean, like, I came here when I was 1.5, so I can't really.
Oh yeah.
I can't really take any credit for all the things that we've done here.
Yeah.
But it's really great to see that, like, in the year 2020, it was our 25th year here, and we all graduated from college. We all have a house. Most of us are married. We have cars, like literally living the American dream.
That's so cool.
And it's so amazing to be able to see that we came to America with $100, supporting 7 people.
So yeah, because you have a big family.
Yeah, it's just crazy to see like all the sacrifices that my parents and my family made all those years ago. Like,
they're paying off.
Yeah, they paid off.
It takes time, but it does. Yeah, they do really pay
like,
off.
it's easy to give up. Like, I mean, I was in college for 8 years. Like,
yeah.
Imagine that. Like, most people, not to like totally toot my own horn again, but like, I mean,
Again,
once
toot.
like, I don't know. I was in chemistry for 3 years. I was 1 year away from graduating, and I'm like, you know what? Like, I really don't really want to do chemistry. And at that point, I feel like most people would have just finished it off and like come back if they really wanted to. But like for me, I'm like, I really don't want to do this for the rest of my life. Like, I enjoy art and all those things a lot more. And so for me, it was like, I don't know. It was kind of weird because, especially like in an Asian family, you kind of you want a job that's like what society deems as successful and money making and stuff.
Yeah.
And like for me, being the last kid in my family, just be like, bye, like,
I'm not gonna be a
bye
designer.
pharmacy school.
Yeah.
I want to be in art.
Yeah.
And just to totally shift and do that, like, I was completely terrified because, you know, like, this is what I built my whole life up to, and all of a sudden I just changed it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and I feel like most people would have just left school or, I mean, like, finished and everything, but I decided to start over.
Yeah.
And there were many years during that time where I kind of felt ashamed just because people are like, oh, you've been in college for 6 years already?
Oh,
7
that
years?
happens so much.
Yeah.
There seems to be like and obviously you don't necessarily want to be a student forever, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, right? Something's better than nothing. But but yeah, like you're saying, like, it doesn't matter how long it takes you, because if you're not gonna be happy with what you do at the end of it, then it's probably, like you were saying, you were practically just wasting your time.
Exactly.
So,
like, do you want to live like the rest of your life regretting the choices that you've made?
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, it seems like wasted time, but like, you learned a lot during that time. I met so many of my good friends during those years. Like, I look back and like specifically Miguel. No, but it's funny because like I look back and I'm like, that's a lot of time that I feel like it went wasted. But had I not done that, then I wouldn't have reconnected with Aaron, who I ended up marrying.
Right.
I wouldn't have met all like my really good friends like you. And yeah, and so I look back and I don't really see those years wasted. I just feel like that they're just more life experiences in there.
No, I remember when you came and worked for the print shop where we were. That was one of the things that you always mentioned. Once we like started becoming friends, you were like, "Oh man, like I feel so weird because you had been in school like longer than most of the rest of the students in the program. So.
I know, everyone was like 4 years younger than me.
Yeah. But I think that's why we clicked as well, because obviously we're around the same age, right? So so we had a lot more in common too. I'm like, don't worry, I wouldn't worry about it. But oh man, how was it when because you did also mention like your family is like lawyers, doctors, like
they're all engineers.
Or
engineers.
Like engineers.
Yeah, so like my sister and her husband are programmers, like computer programmers or whatever. And then my sister is like a rocket scientist. She's
right,
so
that's
freaking
what it
smart.
was. Yeah.
And then my brother is also a software engineer, but like mobile apps developer. Nice. And my husband is too. So like everyone around me is in engineering.
You're like, they're like, oh Land, that's a great flyer.
They're just like, oh, so this is what 6 years of art came to.
No,
it's like you can arrange flowers really well.
You have a really great eye for text and type.
I know. I'm like, and it's so funny, like the difference like in jobs that we have. I'm just like, oh yeah, I created this sign today.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful. Look at these flyers. Look at this.
Your sister's like, I went to space.
She's like, I'm creating this really neat thing where people can grow potatoes out in Mars. And I'm like, well, that's really cool. I made this.
Yeah, you're like, I did this doodle that I'm thinking could be a logo.
I know. I sent them like a sticker of my face.
Oh my
I'm just
God.
like, so then you can like, so I'm everywhere. Like, just post it where you see it the most often.
Just post it on that rocket ship and then plaster. No, man, that's really cool. I was gonna ask just how culturally it was different too. You're the youngest, like you said. Your older siblings, they grew up more in Vietnam. So how was it for you? Even like, is it difficult for you kind of identifying?
Oh my gosh, Miguel. That's actually something I kind of struggled with my whole life. And I know like others might not think it that way, but like identity has been like a huge thing. I don't really mention it much, but I've noticed that it's affected me a lot more as I grew older. Like when I was younger, I was like, the only Vietnamese or Asian kid in my class. Then like once you get into college, like, there's a lot more diversity there. But with my personal life, it was kind of weird because then I was dating like a white boy and stuff, and like they have different ideas on like traditions and stuff. So my family's pretty traditional in terms of like how dating, marriage, and all, and like living with your significant other is.
Right.
And so that was like my first big obstacle, I guess. When my now husband and I got engaged, we were like, okay, like let's move in together and stuff. And like with my family, it's like, oh, you don't move in together until you're married.
It's the same way in Mexican culture too.
That's pretty funny because like I noticed a lot more how like similar Vietnamese and Mexican cultures are.
When we went to Portland, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Just kind of how similar they are. Weren't we talking about that? Because at the time, was it when that movie Crazy Rich Asians? Yeah, so that's kind of what brought it up, right? Was that what we were talking about?
I don't even remember. I don't know. We talked a lot about like cultures and stuff during that trip, but but I think that's also when I kind of went through all the problems that I did as well. So it was just like it kind of lined up pretty nicely there. But yeah, and so like identity has been pretty hard for me because I grew up in America. Yeah. I mean, I came here when I was 1.5, and so everyone around me, like, they did things certain ways. That's just how Americans are. And then there's my family at home where, like, we only speak Vietnamese.
Yeah.
We we didn't really celebrate American like holidays and stuff. Like I didn't have like my first Christmas until I was in first grade, and so it was just like because everyone around me was saying like, oh, I got this for like Christmas. What'd you get? And I'm like, what's Christmas?
Yeah, like what is that?
Yeah, and so it was just really weird, but and so it was pretty hard trying to balance those two because I'm just like I grew up as an American, like this is how like everyone around me is, and it's hard to kind of go against that with my like Vietnamese culture,
right?
And so like I'm still struggling with that today, but I think I have a better grasp of like what aspects of each culture that I want to personally
kind of continue. Yeah. No, I totally see where you're coming from. I think I had a similar, I mean, not as intense, obviously, as you did, but it is, like, you do kind of find it hard sometimes just because I've always thought of myself as Mexican,
Mm-hmm.
but then there was a time where, like, I was 7 when I grew up here. Obviously, I don't have an accent pretty like
Noticeably or
like
anything?
noticeably,
Mhm.
right? So my friends, like, I remember when they started calling me whitewashed, and I was like, first of all, I don't know what that means. And then it wasn't until, like, I got to college that I was like, oh, they're just saying that, like, I'm kind of an Americanized Mexican.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm like, in my head, I'm just like, no, so it is, like, kind of difficult when you're kind of trying to balance these
Mm-hmm.
two different cultures that, I mean, they are different, but I don't think it's that big of a deal necessarily. It's just an experience, right? Like, it's just, I don't know. It's still just me. Like, I'm like, it's me. Like, I just happen to have a little bit of both, but.
I think it was harder for me because it was when I was trying to move out, and then
Right.
my family was like, no, you can't, because that's not how our culture is. Like,
Yeah.
you don't move in with them or anything. Or yeah, it was hard just because, like, there are things that you can and can't do. Or, like,
Mhm.
oh, I wanted to stay out late. Like, oh, no, you can't do that. And it's not
Yeah.
because, like, them being parents. It's just more of, like, that's not how women
Right.
should
Yeah.
behave.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a Vietnamese woman should not be out until 2 a.m. with their friends. And so it was just trying to figure out, like, what's acceptable and what's not, and, like, actually making a choice for myself on, like, what I deem is acceptable.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
What's going on with you?
What's going on with me? No, nothing. So, like, nothing much.
That's why I'm doing this podcast, Lanh.
That's why I tried this podcasting thing out. No, so, like, I'm doing, like, my graphic design business, and then that's been going well. Like, I mentioned that things did slow down for me when the Rona started, and it's kind of scary. So I totally see, people who have, like, rent to pay for their
Yeah.
business, or are depending on people to go into a store to keep the lights on. I could totally see how scary that would be, and just because I obviously work from home, so I didn't have that worry, I guess. But
It wasn't as big of a shift
right,
for you.
but just the stress of, like, I don't think people are gonna be needing much marketing right now, or if they are, it's gonna be at a much less degree. So it did kind of, I'm like, shoot.
It's actually funny that you mentioned that, because I think that the graphic design need actually increased.
It increased, like, at the very beginning. I just wasn't sure where it was going, but now it's increasing with, like, all of the digital stuff that's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like,
I totally agree.
even through work, I felt like when Corona just initially started, like, back in, like, March, April, we had so many projects that were shifted from print or, like, in person to digital. And so, like, then we ended up having to create a lot of videos, create a lot of, like, postcards to send out, and then also just create a lot of digital marketing. And
No, you're right.
yeah.
So it's funny because even when we were in school, print is a lot less seen than it was back then. And I feel like I never totally believed that, because I guess print has a special place in my heart. But no, you're totally right. I feel like the Rona kind of, not accelerated, but I think pushed it a little bit more towards just everything being digital. And I think everything will bounce back kind of how it used to, but I just don't know. And I was just I wasn't
But
scared.
really, is it going to be? I mean, a lot of companies are looking to doing full remote now.
Really?
Yeah.
That's always a possibility. I have heard that, like, businesses now that are saying that people can work remotely, they're going to make that transition, but so I have no idea. I guess I'm lucky in the way that I had been doing it, like, for a year or so before the Rona. But man, sometimes I feel like you just need to see people. Like,
I
seeing
struggled.
live people.
I didn't realize how more extroverted I am than introverted until COVID hit, because, like, I always imagined that myself as being introverted, and then
throughout the years, it's just completely changed.
I never believed that you were an introvert, by the way.
You should have seen me back when I was like in elementary, like grade school. I did not talk whatsoever. I was so quiet. And I know exactly what changed in like 8th grade. I had to take drama, and then I was forced to kind of get out of my shell.
Right,
and then ever since then, it kind of changed. But like, I still didn't really see myself as extroverted, and all of a sudden Corona hit, and I'm like, I miss seeing people. And then the only person I saw was Aaron, and then Aaron
You're you again.
It was funny because we had our office set up in the same room. Like, we have one dedicated room.
Yeah,
and then
cool.
and
they
then
built their own computers, by the way. It's fine.
And then when as like each day progressed, I'm just like, I need to get out of this room. And so I shifted all of my things over to my craft room so I could be separated from him. And like, I guess I needed that, you know, life and work balance to be like actually separated. So then like that was why I moved rooms from Aaron, because I'm just like I can't have you like be in my work life, and it was
you're like
you're too much of a distraction.
Yeah. you're gonna have to choose, either we're gonna be coworkers or we're gonna be husband and wife, but I can't do both right now.
And it was honestly that though. And then like you know, my good friends in my graphic design classes and stuff, I'm just like, oh, I miss you, because like we work so well, like being creative together, like critiquing each other and stuff, and then like not having that face-to-face interaction all the time, it definitely took a toll on me after a couple weeks. And then I don't know, like it's been hard. Fortunately, like things have not gotten...
You're back in the office though, right?
No, we're not.
Oh my God. I keep thinking that you're like actual...
I wish. So we've actually all been working from home since back in March.
And you haven't stepped back into your office since?
I've been back there to steal some office supplies, but...
It's a huge alarm to sound off.
Like I just go back to steal some office supplies. I'm like, oh, I might need this, oh, I might need that. And then eventually I just brought home like the whole office. But no, we haven't come back, and I think our like paperwork and stuff, we're supposed to come back in January, but that's just like seeing how it is. But I really don't think we're gonna be back until summer at the earliest.
Of like next, obviously
of next year of 2021, because I mean our office is pretty small anyways. We only have 5 professional employees in there, so it's like we don't really need to go back into the office yet. We're not one of the essential ones that need to come back first in this first wave of, you know, school opening and stuff. So yeah, we're just gonna chill at home for a while, and who knows how long that's gonna be. And it's been hard, and so it's I've been able to, you know, fortunately meet up with like friends and stuff here and there, and also like, you know, have happy hour Zoom and whatnot. Just to have some interaction that's not in my immediate life. Like,
well, because it was, how long has it been since we had seen each other?
Oh gosh, it was it last fall?
Yeah.
Because I remember we were talking about Creative Couch the last time we got together.
Couch,
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so it was a while.
It's been a year. Oh my gosh, Miguel.
I know. It's been a crazy year.
I think about you though.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's funny because I was telling you, I was telling Lan, I was telling you, every time so Erin, her husband, has a Jeep, like a really cool Jeep, and every time I would see a Jeep, which seems to be like very often now, I'm always like, I wonder how they're doing. But I never texted you because I always assumed you were busy. I'm like, oh, she has
I'm never too busy for my friends. I'm like, as long as you just throw something in my calendar, I will be there. Perfect.
That's a perfect segue to our 3 questions that I ask every guest, actually. So you ready?
Yes, have at it.
Okay, let me pull them up real quick. What makes a true friendship?
Patience. I know that's extremely vague, but I think a lot of times life gets in the way, and like just because I say like, oh, I can't hang out this week or today or whatever, it doesn't mean that I don't have time for you or that I don't care. It's just like I I need you to be patient because like I have things going on in life right now, or like I will give you that same amount of patience as well, because life happens and it really sucks, because it's not that I don't like you anymore. And well, some people, no, I'm kidding. Yeah, it's just like giving people some slack about some things, because like there are times where I have some really good friends since 2008, 2009, and like, well, I guess just to call him out, like Chris, he's been my best friend, and there are times where we only talk once or twice a year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and it's just like he during that time, like, he was in school, he went to grad school, all that stuff, and I'm like, I have my own things in my life going on too, and like sometimes we just don't have time to actually get together and hang out and stuff, but every single time we talk, it's like it never
pick up right where you left off.
We pick up right where we left off, and I love that about our friendship, just because like he understands that, like, I'm just as busy as he is, and that like sometimes things like slip your mind, and like, oh, a month already passed and you don't realize it, and it's like it's no one's fault.
Right. Life just happens.
And just giving that like leeway, and having like that patience and stuff to like figure that out, and like, okay, like let's actually meet up, or like let's just spend like 5 minutes just talking or something. And I think that's something that I really respect and appreciate out of our like relationship, is that like we've known each other for so long that it's okay to not talk to each other every single day. And I think that some people cut really good people out of their lives just because they're like, oh, when was the last time I talked to them? It was 5 months ago. Obviously they don't like me, or they don't want to be friends with me anymore and stuff, just because of that. But like, that's not really the case. It's that so many things have happened and you don't realize that much time has passed. That doesn't make me, appreciate our friendship any less. It's just like things get in the way, and that's life. And especially when you get older.
Second question, who is one person that has impacted your life in a positive way, and how?
Oh, geez. I have so many people.
A lot of
Okay, so actually, can you specify in what way? Like in my personal life, or just everything?
Just everything. Maybe
Oh my gosh.
maybe somebody who you feel has maybe even changed the course of your life.
Oh my. Okay, well, obviously Aaron, but I don't want to like make this all about him.
I mean, go ahead.
No, okay, so there's two people.
Yeah. There's no limit.
There's a lot of people, but like I know that like something in my life like completely changed after like these two people. So first one was Aaron. I was still in chemistry when we were reacquainted in our physics class, but he knew that I was pretty not miserable doing chemistry, but I wasn't being the best Lanh I could be when I was doing that. And so even though like it was thanks to chemistry that he and I got like reunited, it was like he said like, Lanh, maybe you should try something that you enjoy a little bit more. Like, have you considered this? Like, have you considered like, something in art and stuff? And that's something that his mom had brought up before too. But for me, it's just like, oh no, I can't stray away from my plan. But then he kind of like pushed me towards that way, and was like, and I tried it out and I ended up loving it. And he helped me a lot when I was learning how to code and everything. He's one, the master at efficiency there. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, obviously he completely changed my life because we ended up getting married.
Wait, you guys are married? No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, and so it was pretty great. And I don't really want to elaborate on that just because like we already know he's pretty great. And I appreciate all the things that he does, and like he's cool. Yeah, he spoils me, and I know I will never say that to him, but
I mean, he's gonna listen.
But everyone knows.
You can take this little bit if you want. I can cut it up, and so you can always have it to prove to Lanh what she said.
No, so I know he spoils me, and I always tell my coworkers how amazing he is, and like all the stuff that he does for me, and how he makes me a better person, even though I'm being a complete turd. But he gives me so much slack on it, and I love and appreciate him so much for that, because I know I can be a turd.
No.
Shut up. No. And then I guess like in my work life, like he knows that I really appreciate him and like all he's done, but like Brian Wiley.
Oh, I wasn't expecting that. That's so cool.
He's made, like, I've told him how much, like, I've admired him. I don't know if he knows that, but he has definitely pushed me in, like, in, like, so many different ways, just, like, being creative, like, kind of knowing your worth. I know that's something that he's brought up before, but yeah, like, he always challenges me with, like, different projects and stuff that he's brought me in on, and he's so knowledgeable that I can't help but admire it and study even more on it, because I'm just like, this is exactly who I want to be as a designer. Like, he has so much knowledge, he's so smart, and, like, he fosters that in his students. And I think that's something that's kind of impacted me a lot, because I've seen how much effort and time and that he's put into all of his students, individually, like, collaboratively, all those things. And even for the community, he's done so many things, and I've been so fortunate that he's pulled me in on some of those projects, and that's also influenced how I've interacted with a lot of students under me, especially when I was doing Saga, the graphic design club at Boise State. Like, mentoring and all those things have been up there, just providing feedback and all those things, and that's influenced me now, because, like, recently, like, I've been through some interview processes with some students, and I've reached out to all the ones that didn't make it through. Some of them.
Oh, that's so nice.
And I'm like, hey, like, let's talk about your portfolio and your resume. Like, let's make it better. Let's prepare you for your next job interview. And so I think, like, that's made a huge impact on me, just to, instead of saying, like, nope, you didn't make it, next. I feel like it's part of my responsibility to help them, because I've been so fortunate to have so many people in my lives that have pushed me and, like, teach me so much, that I should offer that to other people as well, because I'm like, how are you supposed to grow as a person, as a designer, like, without people guiding you and mentoring you and helping you? And
No, I definitely wasn't expecting that, but I could definitely see it. I mean, I would have to agree with you. Thankfully, well, I don't know if thankfully was the right word, but Brian did start the year that I graduated, so we had him. So he pretty much taught most of my graphic design program while I was in the program. And you're right, like, everything you just said, the way he kind of just pushes you, and he would go out in the community, look for like, different types of projects for us to do. I remember one of our projects was urban planning, which is something that, you know, you wouldn't think as a designer that you could do. But Brian would bring in those projects and then kind of show us how kind of design plays a role in all these different aspects of life. And you're right, he kind of just expands your horizons a little bit. Yeah.
I'm going to throw Miguel under the bus real quick and say that he forgot to ask me the last question, which was, what advice would you give to the youngest member of your family? So, one of my older sisters just had her first child back in June of this year, and this little one is really special because she's the first biracial member of our family. I know I mentioned earlier in our conversation about not really having an identity crisis, but more of an identity mess. I didn't know where I stood between the two cultures I grew up in, and for her to be biracial, I can only imagine the struggles that she's going to go through. And I wish I had something profound to pass on to her, like I was full of knowledge and wisdom, but to be quite honest, I don't. I'm 26 years old, and I literally just figured out my life about a few years ago. I went through a lot of identity struggles and just general internal struggles of what I thought I needed to do and what I thought my family expected me to do. And that caused a lot of turmoil for me. And so I guess my advice to her would be, don't do what you think your family expects you to do or what others expect you to do. You're going to be the one that has to live with the decisions that you make. And you're just going to have to learn what your values are, what your morals are, and make those decisions yourself. It's okay to be wrong. Life is about learning, and it's too short to dwell on regrets and mistakes that you've made. Do what makes you happy, but not drugs. Don't do drugs.
I really appreciate you. You already know, and like I admire you. All the yeah.
Can you say I'm inspirational? Because I'm used to that title now.
Remember, I need to keep you humble. That's gonna be my job.
That doesn't exist with me anymore.
Remember, I'm always gonna have seniority.
Oh, that's true. Because you're old, not because of anything else.
No matter how much of a boss lady you are.
You've been listening to the More Than Dis podcast. Before you go, don't forget to give us a quick rating and review, follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and visit downwithdis.com to stay up to date with the latest information about the show. Have a great rest of your day, rest of your week, and we'll catch you on the next one.